Good morning. Welcome to the front row seat, where it's all about me, because I'm doing it. I'm doing it, but sometimes I'm not aware that I'm doing it. I'm not aware of where my energy's going, not paying attention to it. So I was having a little ponder around some things. One of my favorite ponderings is, what is all this stuff? What's happening here? What's actually happening here? And I started with Joseph Campbell, and his work was a lot about those concepts, and he used the myth, M-Y-T-H, myths of the world to kind of talk around it. And I really liked it, and I went from there to the next thing, just kept learning, and then I found Tom Campbell's work, the My Big Toe, We Are Consciousness thing, and fear's the problem and love is the answer. And yeah, he had a lot of good things in his theories, a lot of good information. And one of the things that's in Tom's work, if you read it, it says, don't believe me, go find your own evidence and go get your own big toe. Go get your own, viewpoint. Which is not easy to do, because there's so much information and discerning through it is just not easy. Another thing that was said was that, this may be a VR, and that we're consciousness and we come into this VR to evolve and grow, and that's what this reality is. And I was thinking about the evidence I've found for myself. I like to do experiments, so I'll think about something, then I'll do experiment and see what happens, And one of the things I was thinking about and doing experiments around is consciousness, right? And then there's the, I think it's just a belief that we're consciousness, we're non-physical, and the conscious just resides in the body called the avatar. And then we're just walking around in this sim, and then it's just a feedback loop, and it's just feeding back to us what we are. So there was that. And I thought, well, what when you think around consciousness and what it is, it's invisible, you can't see it, hear it, smell it, taste it. But I was thinking again around that, and it's like, wait a minute, you can see it. And then I made another leap of, well, what if consciousness is just that energy that the Chinese talk about all the time? They call it ki or chi, or in some places it's called prana. And in those specific religions, they talk about everything is derived from this energy. And then I thought a little bit past that and thought, well, wait a minute. We're not the avatar. We're consciousness, maybe. Then I had a thought pop in my head, well, what if that's actually what we are, is the key? We're the key. And we just express ourselves through these avatars. It's kind of the same, but it's different. It's different in that it's like a paradigm shift in your mind. Because if we're the key, then that means that what we do is we are the energy that flows. And either we're flowing or we're caught in a turbulence or something else. And it's like, okay, the key energy, if that's what and who we are, would make a little more sense. Because if you are the energy, then you would be the intent that moves that energy. So you're moving yourself. Your awareness is, oh, baby lizard. There he goes. Oh, I can't see him. Haha. What you would be the awareness. And if you are awareness and you are the choice. See, it's a big leap going from your consciousness, non-physical energy that resides in avatar, to you are the key that's in everything. You're in this avatar. You're also part of the key that's in those trees over there. You're part of the key that's in the animals that we see. You aren't the lizard, but you're the same energy that comprises or makes up the lizard. Although I felt like a lizard a few times. So I'm just now thinking about this. So I'm in the process of bringing in new ideas around it and thinking about it, and it was almost like it's just a paradigm shift, and it went from we're physical beings in a physical world, and then it went from that to, okay, you're a non-physical being in a non-physical world, and the physical world is not the real reality. It's just a byproduct or a reflection of it. Then you go from that, and if you take the next step, there might be a next step here. If you take that next step, it's like you are that energy, and you get to choose what to do with your energy and where it goes, where it flows. And if this is the case, that we actually are the awareness, and that would mean that whatever you're thinking about is where your energy's going. I like to think about things that don't have much emotional content in it, because it can either drain you or well, it can lift you up too, thinking positive, but that takes energy too. And that would explain, because I never understood, the staying angry all the time and always fussing over a subject that you don't like, or somebody you don't like, or something that's not really what you really want to be involved in. But then your awareness and your intent, it gets wrapped around those things, and it's almost like you're in this loop of it. That's flowing, whatever it is. So in this energy flow, if you're flowing your energy, if that's what's actually happening here, then that would mean that the being or other person that you'd be thinking about, that's where your energy's going. That would be where it's going to. So if you're not happy with someone because they did X, Y, Z and this and that, and you think about it, you don't like them, and you're going through all that, then that would mean, in this like new little theory I'm trying to think around, that would mean that which way? That way? This way? This way? That would mean that the other being that you're not appreciating or not happy about is getting your energy. So as energy comes and goes, I think that ki, prana, whatever, I think that it can then be converted into currency, money. Because it's the same thing, it's energy, right? Money is not energy itself, it is a representation of energy. Talked about that. Is energy the real currency? You know, I thought about that for a while. So then, if you take it one step further, then you realize, then I realized, it's like, wait a minute. When I'm focused there, so focused awareness, that's what I am. Focused awareness. And it's just energy that has the qualities that can focus and be aware. It's almost like energy with a personality or energy with an attitude, either one. And so then I thought about it. It's like, oh, wait a minute. So this would explain a lot if that's what's actually happening. That whatever we think, wherever we're focusing our awareness on, energy is going to that. It would make a lot of sense how it would make a lot of sense, because it just, when you think about it and how this thing works and this energy, you see a lot of times, you know, some people who are not really nice to people, and seems like that they shouldn't have anything in this realm because of how they are and how they treated you and people you see around you. But you see them a lot of times just thriving, and money just comes to them, and they don't. We talked about this, like, how come people that are not kind and are not being friendly and helping others and all that kind of good stuff, how come they seem to do so well here? Well, what if everybody they come in contact with and upset is giving them energy? And that would also explain the cult thing. Like, you've got a cult kind of develops, and you've got a cult leader, and then the leader all of a sudden starts having all of this energy. Then they start turning that energy into resources. Then all those resources do things like, well, there was that Jim Jones guy, and he bought a bunch of property in another country, and then took all his, you know, all the people that were worshiping him to this place, and then, you know, he was really bad. He was not really there to help anybody. So why do some of the worst people just have everything? And are able to do the things that they do, I think it's because of this. Because it doesn't matter what you're feeling. If you're focused on whatever you're focused on, that's where all your energy's flowing to. See, that changes things a little bit. It's a different way to look at it. So I'm going to be doing some experiments around it, because if this is true, that means that, again, it's all about you because you're doing it. So all of the things that come up in life, and this thing happens and that experience happens, and then if you just get mad at somebody, start focusing on them, that's where your energy's headed to. Well, that's not what I wanted to be doing at all. But it is counterintuitive. It's like, well, I can't stop thinking about that, or I don't want to stop thinking about that, or what if letting everybody that's done XYZ in life that you don't like, what if they just got let off the hook? You let them off the hook. Then you let all the other stuff that's coming in through social media, politics. What if you let all that off the hook? Because if that's what's being thought about by everybody, it's just rolling all that energy into that. And that might be why they have, or those that work in that area have so much. Well, you get a whole giant group of people thinking negative thoughts. Well, you're the only one that feels negative, but that's just energy, and it's going straight there. Uh-oh. So, to not let your energy flow into places you don't want it to go, how that would look would be being careful and more controlling of your own mind and where it's going, where it's flowing. Going and flowing. I just went that way. And you know, I'm not big into religions or anything like that, but I did hear a lot about it because I went to one my whole childhood. And that was one of the things that was said, is this man came up to him and said, "Oh, I have this negative thing happening to my body." He was sick or something. I don't remember the full story. They went up to the Jesus character and said, "I have this thing. I'm not doing okay. I need help. Would you please help me?" And this is what was said. "Yes, I will help you. I will heal you. But then go from here and don't speak of it again. Don't speak or think of it." I'm not exactly sure how it was put. But the message was, get your mind off of it. Get your mind off of that negative thing, because you're creating that with that energy, because it's creative. It'll make good things and bad things. Whatever you are aware of, and whatever, you know, you're making with your creative energy, then that's what you're going to get. And that's what I mean by being on the front row. Here you are. It's all about you, because you're doing it. We're doing it, but we may be unaware that we're doing it, because it's hard to get the information of what's actually happening here. You got to dig for it and find your own my big toe and work it out that way. Because why it matters is if I can, whoever can get it into the right perspective, then I believe that you would be able to do experiments and see it in your reality. See if it's working. Look at it. What happened when I think like this? What happens when I think like that? And that would make sense, you know, like with how news media, you get more, you know, they're just going for views. You get more views the more if it's negative content. And how, you know, that just kind of gets our attention first, because if you're living out in nature and something's happening, well, you want to deal with the negative thing first. You know, you need to get the tiger out of the village before you worry about going and getting some grain to make some bread or something, right? So I think that we're naturally wired to look at the negative first. So if you have a apparatus that has negative content, then that's where we're going to look first. It's just, we're kind of designed for that. Okay, I got to go by one of these things here. They're a little bit loud. I can't really talk. Say hello. You're on the front row seat. We're on a podcast.
What's that?
Well, how y'all doing today?
Good. How about yourself?
Well, I'm doing good. My podcast is about working through your fear and thinking positive,
Yes.
because I was thinking that, you know, even if we think negative thoughts, we're sending that energy
And you're right.
to something that we don't want. And it happens all the time because, you know, if you're not aware of what you're doing, then you're going to be doing something you don't want to be doing.
Indeed.
Well, that's good. You're out here communing with nature. That's great.
I am, and y'all are too. It's such a beautiful day out
One
here,
of
isn't
my
it?
greatest fears are snakes. And being out here, I'm like, ooh, I know I'm out here where they are.
Wait, we're overcoming our fears.
There you go. Well, get rid of them fears and move on ahead.
Have a great day.
See? See? Okay. Just did an experiment. There's some validation. See? That's what's going on, I think. And, you know, I've thought about, yeah, there's some things that are really tough to let go of and let it off the hook. It's like, just accept it for what it is. It is that. Some people have a lot of trauma and they've been through abusive situations, and yes, there is abuse can happen here. But then there's the other side of it is just accepting that that's what happened, and the process of healing and recovering that is getting a bigger perspective on it so you can see the bigger picture a little bit. Yeah, it is tough. But what's even tougher is this. If you don't let it go and you don't let it off the hook, you don't accept things the way they are, your energy is tied into that, and you're flowing energy to there, even if you don't want to. So that's why the whole turn the other cheek and focus on something positive is something positive that you actually want to flow your energy into, that will be in the service for you. Your energy is in the service for you instead of in the service for something that you don't even like. You don't want, you don't like it, and all of that stuff. So if you let things off the hook, oh, well, I don't like this grumpy person over here because they did X, Y, Z and did this and that and the other. There, they just got a bunch of your energy just thinking like that. So if you let them off the hook by going, well, that's just the way they are, and they will get the consequences of, you know, those decisions. Because even though they get a lot of energy, it doesn't mean that they have a good life. It just means they get a lot of stuff and a lot of resources, but it doesn't mean they have a good life. It just means they can get stuff and convert the energy into other things. But usually it gets converted into things that don't matter, right? So letting everything off the hook. You let all those people off the hook, then you let your village off the hook, then you let all the countries off the hook, then you let the whole realm off the hook. It's kind of fun. Just let it all off the hook. And let it go. And I think that's a really good advice. Turn the other cheek and don't look back. Don't think about it. Oh, and that reminds me of that other story that's in there about the lady that turned to salt. I told, don't look back. See? You'll turn into a pillar of salt. You won't be able to continue on because all your energy is locked up in the past. I think the stories are metaphoric. I don't know if they were literal because I wasn't there. I didn't see the lady turn into salt, so I don't know. She could have, she couldn't have, who knows? I think it's just all about always what you're thinking, because if that is true, that we're just this key energy, and then that means that what we're doing here is way different than living in a physical world with just a physical body. That's a completely different way of thinking about life. Yeah. And, you know, a lot of that upset that we get about X, Y, and Z, a lot of that is just based on fear. You know, things happened that made us afraid when we were younger or whatever. Ooh, let's go ahead and see the water. And then we think about it, ruminate about it, and then we think about it, ruminate, and it's just, then it becomes a habit. Then next thing you know, you're giving your energy away to all these different places that you don't want it to go. And then the next thing you know, you are trying to do what you need to do for yourself, and there's no energy there to do what you need to do. I hear all the time, I'm just so tired. I feel drained. And I've been there too. I felt drained, you know, because I'm focusing and thinking about things that I don't want. There they go. Dealing with the spear snakes. I had that one too. Ooh, them little boogers. I've worked on it though. You don't have to be afraid of it. You just be smart about it. Like he had a stick, you know. So if he sees one and it comes down to that, snakes don't really want us. So you just have to be careful not getting up in their face, because it scares them, right? Then they react. But if you just get smart about it, then you can keep yourself safe. Then you don't have to be afraid. It's a really weird concept. It's another one about the bears, right? Well, you need to be afraid because you need to have a healthy fear of bears. It's like, okay, so you're in a forest, you're walking down the trail, and then you come face to face with a bear. Well, when you become afraid, you go into fight, flight, freeze. So you're going to do one of those three, and a lot of people just run, or, you know, because that fear's there, and so it's got a lot of energy in it, right? And then off you go. Well, if you start running, that thing's going to chase you and eat you. But if you don't have fear of the bear, and you just get the information, oh, there's bear. Then you can think clearly, and then you can go, oh, I need to do XYZ, which, you know, would give me the biggest chance to deter this thing. Because if you're thinking about being scared, if you're scared and then you're doing something else, and then you can't think of what you actually do need to do to be safe. So, healthy fear, I don't think it's a thing. I think information is the thing that helps everything. So, there's the creek. So, again, you're focused on XYZ and it did this, it did that. And I was thinking about just going in and make a list, you know. It's not that long, but there's a couple of choice items on there. Make a list of those things. And then, instead of just, oh, I just need to get rid of the fear around this, just go through. Because everything that you have feelings about, one way or the other, good, positive, the good, the bad, the ugly, any emotional content you have, that's where your energy is flowing into those things. And, you know, even if it's a great thing and you love it, right? Well, if you're constantly thinking about it and yeah, well, you're flowing energy then too. And yeah, it's good to have good, positive things to think about. But if you're doing that all the time, then that's going to deplete your energy too. So that's my next experiment. I'm going to write down each thing, see where I'm attached to it, see if I can get unattached from it, and then do some experiments in that way. See what happens. I'm really curious. I think that's why I like doing what I do. I'm just curious. Always been curious about what's happening. Because when you're just looking at it and you're moving through life, I mean, think about it. It really doesn't make that much sense. Most of the time, it feels like just a confusion thing, you know? It's like, what the hell just happened here? And I think that's what's confusing it. It's not understanding what's actually happening. So when, oh, we're crossing each other again. It looks like we're walking on the same trail today, which is fine. We'll just go this way. Okay, let's do another drive-by. Here, let's just stand here. Here we go. We're just gonna stand here and watch them go by. Oh, they're not going. They're gonna go that way. That's funny. I've never seen one of those out here. Well, wait, maybe I did. That's been a long time ago. Yeah, but those are really neat. I like walking, getting exercise. It'd be fun if you was tired, though. I've always loved golf carts. They're a lot of fun. Okay, so XYZ, letting everything off the hook. Just letting it all go. In whatever way. You know, sometimes I just see in my mind's eye myself pushing a broom and just pushing all the shit that's piling up, you know, just over the cliff, you know, where it's not mine anymore. And I think my mind was doing that because in some capacity, I understand that all of these things are slowing me down somehow. Well, see, it's not slowing me down. I'm sending the energy there, unaware that I'm doing that, which is probably the case. And, you know, if you just look around and how these new gadgets we have and the social media and everything that's going on, it's nothing but everybody's getting divisive, and I think it was probably made to do that because that would harvest a lot of energy that way. Think about it. See, it doesn't matter what's put on there. Just put something on there that upsets people. And then there you have it. Oh, man. And then I just wrap it. I'm still thinking about this because it's so interesting. Then you go back to the whole consciousness movement that's moving forward. And, oh, this is a VR. Well, what if there is no VR? What if everything is just us? Our energy that creates all this. We create it all. We can create it accumulatively, or, a group can create certain things. Like a group of people, and you work for a company, and then that enriches that company because the more you focus on that, see, same thing. Ooh, that's pretty. Consciousness. It's like, what is it? Well, I think it just kind of flip the page over to this other place and look at ki, prana, chi, whatever. And look there. I think it's been talked about a lot already. It's not new. I was able to find a lot of information about it. But a lot of times when, you find that information, it's like, oh, you need to meditate, you need to do this and that, and do this with your ki. And then I was born in the South where it was just, nothing like that was here. Anything that's in the New Age movement genre, all that stuff was demonized in the strict religions we had here. So my mind doesn't just automatically go to those kind of things. And I don't think it's about meditating and clearing your mind. I think it's more about figuring out what you're focused on. Figuring out what you think about. Figuring out what that's doing and how it works. I think that if you're, really anxious and depressed and all that, yeah, sitting still in a forest and go forest bathing is going to help all that. Because this probably all is ki energy too. And you can replenish your ki energy with it. Oh, and that brings up the next piece of it. So things bring more energy. Some things take it away. So what if all those cathedrals and all of that stuff was really about this energy, i.e. consciousness, whatever you want to call it? What if it was about changing the quality of the ki energy? What if you could go into these spaces and it's just like an information organizer, or because I think that it's just all information, so you go into this certain space, then you, because you can even feel it when you go into these places. You can feel it. It feels good. And that thing that's feeling good is an abundance of energy, ki energy. Consciousness is thick through there. So you can go there and replenish your energy, because if you're flowing it in a bunch of different ways, unaware of what's happening, and your energy is just leaking out all over the place, going to places you don't want it and things you don't need and all of that, yeah, you're going to become depleted and tired. You're going to have fatigue. So all you need to do is you just go down there to the church. Not like the churches in the South where it's just a wooden building. The cathedrals that are in Europe. Going to one of those. Then you could replenish. And then go about your day. Your energy's revitalized. And then you can go think about X, Y, and Z again, and it all goes away again. Oh, yeah. But I don't know for sure. Everybody can just do their own experiments. And I have noticed that when I am, in the presence of a lot of negativity, I get real tired real fast. That's why I like to try to stay as positive as I can. It seems like that kind of maintains my energy a little better. And because when I get tired and fatigued, I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go for this walk. I don't want to have this talk. I just want to kind of like go into my shell and recoup. So, that's my little walk and talk today. Hope y'all enjoy. And anybody have any insight or more comments about what I was talking about today, just stick it in the comments. Because we're on this together and we're on this journey and we're moving it and we're doing it. Have a good day and much love.